So now let's build the login component. So I'll just navigate there. So if you look at the login components, it's just a simple form with, this, all of these things you see here. But there's one important thing though. You see that it has this like card-like property around it. The same thing applies for the register component. So you see there's this card-like property around it. So that's actually a component that we use and we can reuse in any part of our application. So I'll start by building out that card so that when I start building the login page, everything will just go smoothly. So I'll come here and inside my component, okay, I've not created a components folder. So inside my source folder, I'll create a folder for my components. So components. And if you ask what's the difference between a component and a page, well, a component is a block of code that can be reused across several pages or within other components. So you see, all right, so for the first component I'll create here, I'll create a folder and call it card. Oh no, it needs to be small letter. It's only components that we name with capital letter, so every other thing small letter. So card. And then inside of my card, I will just, you know what, let me create the components folder first. New file, and then I'll create the card.js. And then for the card, I would also create the card CSS. You know what, let me create another component here so that this folder, card folder would, come down. So I'll just right click and create maybe like a footer or something. So new folder, and then I'll just create a footer. So you see, so we now have the card components, pushed outside. So for the card component, I'm just going to drag the CSS file inside and just dump it here inside the card. So that means we now have the card.js and the card. This is also a modules file, so card modules.scss. Anyway, let's just continue. So for the card, let's just create a boilerplate RAFCE to create a React template. Now basically we want to, let me see, we want to get rid of this text of card inside here, and let me just close this guy so we have space. And this card is going to have some props. So it's going to have children props. So the first one, children, and then it's going to have a card class. That card class is a class that can be applied to the card in the other components or pages that we use them. So this course is technically not to teach you React, right? You're expected to know React, so that's why I'm not spending so much time explaining like I did in the back end. All right, so we are going to return a div, and this div is going to have a class name. So class name, and technically it's going to be like this. So let's import the class first. So I'll say import styles. This one is a modules file, so import styles from, and then I'm just going to point to my /card.modules.css. Yeah, so that's why we have, so you see why I didn't use modules throughout. It will require me to always use styles, and then if I want to point to a particular style, I will now say styles dot, in this case it's going to be styles.card. all right, then let me escape this. Now after styles.card, I am also, in fact, I'll even put this thing inside the backticks. So here, instead of just saying styles.card, I'll just wrap it inside backticks, and then this styles.card is going to be, we'll use the string interpolation syntax $. So that's the first style. Now I can now slot in the second style. So the second style will just simply be our, so I'll put $, and this is going to be card class. Okay, so this card class will be applied on the components that uses this card component or the page or whatever. So next, inside here we're just going to have our children, DREN. Yeah, so that's it. This is it for these card components. Yeah, so just go ahead and save, and you don't need this React. I just forget to remove them sometimes. So I'll save that, and then we can now go to the login page and create the login page. But because this is already like 5 minutes, I'll just break it into two, and in the next video I'll create the login page.